Effectuating Real Change Through Courses with Joey Vitale, episode 105. Are you ready to make your law firm a profit-generating machine that will free up your time and skyrocket your impact? With more than 2 decades of business growth experience and having proven that you can be successful while prioritizing your family and your impact, introducing the Profit with Law podcast. I am your host, the creator of the Firm Differentiator 10X Effect, Moshe Amsel. Well, hello and welcome to another great guest interview here on the Profit with Law podcast. I'm your host, Moshe Amsel, and today I bring with you a close and dear friend of mine, also my attorney, when it comes to trademarks, but we're not going to focus on that today. You all know that we are spending this entire month talking about information products for law firms. And I couldn't think of a better person to bring onto the show than my friend Joey Vitale. And Joey Vitale is the founder of Indie Law. Indie Law is a firm that does trademarks and brand protection for the online influencer community, the course creators, membership site owners, thought leaders, and so on. So with his law firm and his courses, Joey helps online business owners call legal dibs on their brand name and signature methods so they never have to worry about losing their brand overnight. Joey has helped thousands of entrepreneurs and has spoken all over the country to help business owners stay safe and thriving. And Joey actually was a speaker in our Law Firm Growth Summit, our main event back in December, where he talked about how to create courses as a revenue source for your business. And at that point, it was just a single session in a 5-day summit. And maybe people didn't recognize the value of what he was bringing to the table in that course. And what I want to do this month is I want to help you see the light. I want to help you see the opportunity. If you go back to episode 96, I titled that episode, Lawyers Are Leaving Money on the Table, Lots of It. And I'm sure that Joey is going to share with us what exactly you might be leaving on the table. But having an information product on the front end or the back end of the service that you provide, or even as an alternative to the service that you provide, is going to allow you to collect money from somebody who wouldn't have become a client, to collect money further in advance in the marketing cycle so you can liquidate your ad spend. It will also allow you to then transition those people into service-based clients if they decide that, hey, this, I need more help than what this information product provided to me. So there's a ton of ability that you have to do that. And we have an amazing main event coming to you June 15th. We're doing a 1-day summit. We're actually talking right now about adding a bonus day. So we'll talk about that if it happens. We'll talk about that as it gets closer. But the summit is Unlock the Hidden Revenue Stream. And we're going to take you on a journey through this day to show you what's involved in creating this information product. And actually, Joey's bio, talking about a thought leader, has me thinking that I really need to delve into that with him, because what happens when you start to put information products out there, the way that that's sold is by you positioning yourself as a thought leader. And if you have just been hiding behind your law firm name, the fact that you're a lawyer, and hoping that people are just going to come to you because you're a lawyer, that might have to change. And you might have known that had to change, but didn't know how to do it. You didn't know how to transition to be a thought leader and also still run your firm. And I think that we can delve into that with Joey. So Joey, I'm not going to take any more of your time. Guys, if you want to join the Unlock the Hidden Revenue Stream 1-day summit, go to profitwithlaw.com/waitlist, profitwithlaw.com/waitlist. Put your name and email address in. We'll let you know when we open that up for registration. It is a free event. We're not charging for it. Yes, when you register, we may try to sell you stuff, but the event itself is free. So definitely go there, and the link will be in the show notes as well. So Joey, welcome to the show.
Moshe, thank you so much for having me. And can I just say how awesome what you're doing is? I think I started my law firm 4, maybe 5 years ago, and I was craving a resource like this podcast. So anybody who's listening already can be a testament to that. But just like this is awesome. So thanks for what you're doing, man. This is great.
Yeah, well, hey, drum up more subscribers for me. No problem there. But yeah, Joey, I've been super impressed with you since I happened to come across you in Business by Design, which is a program run by my mentor, James Wedmore, who I talk about occasionally here on the podcast, but I don't talk about him enough. But leading into this main event, leading into this one-day summit, definitely having James highlighted is really important because he is really what has given me all of the knowledge and information that I needed to get my own information business off the ground. And I would basically defer to him for anybody who wants to know anything. It's not just the how to, right? I mean, when we set out and go to do something, we get stuck, and if we don't know how to move forward, we throw our hands up in the air and say, oh, it didn't work, and move on. And it just becomes one of those things that we tried and never succeeded at. The beauty of what James does is he creates an environment, creates a just like a training ground where you can feel vulnerable and be able to fail and get back up and brush yourself off and do it again. So being a part of that community is just amazing. And I know that people who I meet in there are just amazing people. And, we've connected since then. I've engaged you, retained you for doing our trademark work, but it's more than that, right? You have an alternative to the service that you provide. And I'd like to start to talk about that. So if you can just give people a little bit of a background, because I think this is your first time here on the podcast, correct?
I think so. Yeah. I'm happy to share kind of how this happened. I guess the short but meaty version is I went to law school because my dad bribed me with the car. And I was the only student in my class who did not like to argue. And so after a couple of years of trying to toughen up and be that courtroom litigator, being in depositions, trying to make that fit my personality, I realized that not only was it not a good fit for me, but there might be another audience out there that I'm a much better fit for. And so I found out about this world of entrepreneurship, and that they had this more proactive need for a lawyer with my type of skill set and personality. And I was I built what I now call like my kitchen sink business law firm. Learned practically that the legal issue that can really come back and bite the type of business owner that I have niched down and work closely with is trademarks. So we niched the law firm down to focus just on trademarks. And then we kept listening and we kept hearing that there were a lot of people who just weren't ready to invest one-to-one in working with our help, but still needed to learn not just how to search and apply for trademarks, but how to adopt some of that trademark strategy at a basic level to their naming strategy for their things like their business name, their slogans, their podcasts. So they weren't quickly running off with a name that was actually accidentally infringing on somebody else. And so in the back of my mind, I always liked this idea of creating a course, but it was very much I'm listening to my customer, and this is what they are craving right now.
Yeah, I love that. And really, I mean, we talk a lot about niching down here on the podcast. Episode 29, why choosing a niche will skyrocket your firm. It's interesting how you arrived at that niche, but it really doesn't matter how you get there. The key to success is being known for something to somebody. And if you can't figure out what that somebody is, then you're never going to get that exponential growth that people dream about when they start their own law firm. Sure, you can make a decent income as a generalist, but you're not going to skyrocket your growth. You're not going to have any sort of acceleration over a short period of time if you can't become known as the go-to person to do to create a certain widget for a very specific market. And that's really what you need to do when you're niching. And it's just great that you listened to the right cues and went ahead and did that. So how did you navigate this process of, hey, I've got this idea? Probably you were in the shower and you were thinking like, okay, how, what can I do that's going to help people who don't want to retain me? How'd you come up with this idea of a course, and what was the journey like to implement that?
We should all just spend more time in showers, right?
Absolutely.
I think that's the answer. So
I will tell you, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. So Jamie Masters, who is, she used to be Jamie Tardy, The Eventual Millionaire is her podcast. Very smart, down in Texas. I met her in person once. She told me that when she gets a new client, she sends them a gift. She sends them this washable notepad and crayons for the shower, for them to hang up in the shower, and so that when they have an idea come to them while they're showering, they can jot it down. And I thought that was genius. So this is where we went. So.
I was wondering where you were going to go with that, but no, that's great. So, one of the first things that I saw as somebody who was interested in building an online course was it seemed like there were really two camps of experts and resources that could help me. One was, for lack of a better word, very much kind of into the label of an information product. And their messaging was very built around, if you want to sell this thing, we can help you get the technology right so that you can kind of put Facebook ads behind it. And you just do this stuff and you make money on the side, this kind of dream and promise of passive income. And the more that I kind of followed along there, I realized there was a second camp of people who thought about online courses completely differently. And that was really this thought leadership space. I love that you mentioned James Wedmore, because for me, like he's the main voice that I listen to when I think of that type of a thought leadership business. And it really isn't about your specific course and what you do and that you offer. It's the fact that you're different, like you said, your niche. The thing that I love about my niche is that my niche gave me a framework that is signature to my entire brand. And it fits my niche. So people outside of my niche, when they hear my framework and see it, they probably like, I don't think this is the guy I want to learn trademarks from. But that allows me to not really worry about competition in the marketplace, because when people walk down that like cereal aisle of courses that can help them with business legal stuff, I'm like the Fruit Loops. And they kind of get familiar with that brand, what they like and what they don't. And I think that one of the biggest traps that people can fall into right now is thinking that building a course like this can be as simple as just creating something, building the right technology around it, and then spending a lot of money for other people to make it work.
Yeah, I love that. And, one of the things what's interesting is that in the Business by Design group, it attracted a number of attorneys who have left the legal space to create a thought leader information product business, and that's their business. And one of the things I was afraid of coming into, well, I don't know if it's a fear, be really honest and right here on the podcast. It wasn't so much that I was afraid of it. It was that I didn't want to position this conversation in hey, you don't have to do law anymore. You can create information and sell that. And that's so much easier. And I didn't want to create that persona. First of all, it's not easier. They make it look easier. It's not an easy thing to do. But there's a lot of people who love what they do. They love the law. They love the practice that they run, but they want to serve more people. And that's who I want to talk to. I want to talk to the people who your heart's in the right place, right? I want to help more people. I just can't do it for free. I can't do it for a discounted price. I have a firm to run, but maybe there's other ways for me to serve them that would still make sense for me. I can still make money, lots of money from it. And at the same time, I can help more people. And I think that the people who I attract on this podcast, they're heart-centered people. They're here, even if their practice area seems to be a practice area where they may not be, their job is to be aggressive. Their job is to attack the other party. But the reality is that they're here to serve a population, and they want the best outcome for those people. So I love that that's your, that's what attracted you to this, is being that thought leader. So what does a thought leader mean to you, Joey?
To me, it means that you are leading an impact with a unique perspective, and you're asking people to go along with you. The two ways that I'm seeing, the type of heart-centered lawyer that you're talking about build an online course, it's interesting. I think the one thing that we're thinking about is like, how can we create something that, can kind of help solve the problem that our law firm solves, but, for those with a smaller budget. An interesting kind of cousin to that I'm starting to see, and I think it's really exciting, is law firms and lawyers who are saying, hey, we know that our law firm can help our clients with this type of, for instance, like criminal law matter. But there's deeper issues going on in these types of cases that go beyond what a law firm can do. So what if we created something that also helped that type of a niche that's going through that experience? What if we as a law firm also created like some type of a course around handling addiction or health and wellness that we could provide as a complement to what our law firm is doing, and how much bigger of an impact could we make with something like that available? And I think the opportunities are endless here. But I'm saying this to get you thinking more creatively than just, how can I create a $99 widget and drive Facebook ads behind it?
Right. Yeah. And I wouldn't encourage anybody to sell anything for $99, but what the interesting thing that you mentioned or highlighted there, it really got me thinking that I might have presented something incorrectly. So in episode 98, I think it was 98, maybe it was 100, either 98 or 100. Go listen to both of them. But in one of those two episodes, I presented the 3 different places that an information product would fit in your client journey. So the alternative to your service, so in other words, the DIY person who wants to just do it themselves and save some money, or they can't afford it, that's an easy one to say, okay, there are people who are not retaining me because they simply can't afford to, and therefore they're either going unrepresented or they're figuring out how to do it themselves, right? And that's one area. But the other area is to look at your client journey and look at the before they need you and the after they need you. And there's a ton of examples, and you just gave one of them of where that would be. Like, why is somebody getting arrested in the first place?
Right.
Can we fix the problem that happens before that? Why is somebody getting divorced? Can we fix the problem that's happening before that? So what if you create an information product or a group or something to give support to somebody who is having a rocky marriage and wants to fix their marriage? And now if they don't fix it, they can come to you, right? It's the natural next step, but you're able to help so many more people if you catch them at the step before. Right. And you're able to impact people in a different way. And the thing that I didn't do when I laid this out is I didn't look at it the way that you just did, which is, when you're solving the immediate problem that your law firm provides, you're only putting a Band-Aid on it. And highlighting that step before and finding a way to fix the step before is a much better option if you want to impact, because you can fix the root of the problem. You can fix the foundation and have a way bigger impact in this world. And people who are thinking, oh yeah, but then I'm going to cannibalize my law firm, I won't have any business. You'll still have business. There are going to be people who don't go through your program. There are going to be people who go through your program and they don't do what they're supposed to do. But imagine how many people are going to go through and get help because of you, and you've now effectuated change in their life and have completely, altered. Like, okay, they were on this path and you just gave them an exit ramp, and now they're on a different highway, and they would have never been there if not for you.
That's beautiful. Like that's really freaking powerful. And just to offer another kind of in that same vein, another kind of fresh perspective on things is, I think we're all used to lawyers doing some type of a promotion and giving that lawyer disclaimer and saying, hey, this is free advice, but I'm not your lawyer, or doing some type of a call with people and saying this doesn't create an attorney-client relationship. What I now get to do inside my program is I get to tell people, hey, I'm not your lawyer. I'm something better. And I can actually help you in a deeper way in this program than I could if you hired me and paid even more money for me to solve your legal problem specifically.
Yeah, I love that. That's freaking powerful. Powerful stuff. Absolutely love that. All right, I'm going to switch gears here, Joey, for a moment, because I want to highlight what's possible. Can you share with us, like maybe in numbers or some way that people can start to understand what the potential is? Like, what did your law firm look like before you started selling this course on the front end? And what does it look like now that you have that plus your service, based side of it? And for those who are thinking, well, if I offer a DIY option, nobody's gonna buy from me anymore, right? They're just gonna do it themselves. I can tell you, I am proof. I went to Joey and I said, look, I know that you offer a course on how to do this yourself. I don't have time to do it myself. I'm not interested. What is it going to cost for me to just hire you to do it for me, right? So there's definitely people like that. Even if your front end is selling a course, they're going to go and say, hey, this is not for me. What's the alternative? But talk to me about what did that look like before? What does it look like now? What kind of impact did that have on the growth of your firm?
Yeah, well, so this month has actually been our best month ever. But so leading up to that, the interesting thing about building a course is it requires you to learn marketing and sales strategy on an even deeper level, and the operations of it as well. It just requires you to really go through all of your processes with a fine-tooth comb. And so before I even started thinking about building an online course, I was spending, most of my day doing client work. I was trying to figure out how I was going to respond to kind of unique situations, hopping on calls and feeling like I really wasn't sure where the conversation was going to go. Most of my sales were coming from new leads that I had to generate, not as much referrals. Now, because of the course, and I don't want to kind of just look at the course in the vacuum, because of the course and because of everything that my team has had to go through and learn to get that up to speed, we now have the processes in place where I'm only spending 15 minutes a day on client work. Most of the leads that we're getting are now retained clients and referrals. And so the law firm is almost operating on the back end where I don't have to market.
So let's just go back and just repeat that one more time. So how much time are you spending a day on client work?
15 minutes a day, if that.
Just want to make sure anybody who was sleeping, you just kind of like zoned out, come back. Joey is spending 15 minutes a day on client work. Go on. You can continue now.
Yeah, I've got it on my calendar. It's 15 minutes where I pull up a certain spreadsheet and I see all of the work that I need to review and approve before it goes out, and any escalated questions for me to review and respond to. And the thing about courses, as you learn very quickly, and I know, Moshe, you and I can talk forever about this, it's not so much about the numbers. It's more about the conversion rates, and not just the how many people bought type of conversion rate, but how many people that saw this landing page for a webinar signed up for the webinar. How many people who signed up for the webinar showed up for the webinar? How many people who were on the webinar went to your sales page? How many of them bought? And we can talk about like just kind of figures, and I can throw those out there. But the thing that I love about building a course, and especially the way that you and I have been trying to do it, where you launch over time, it's not just always available, always evergreen, is that I love seeing opportunity for improvement. And the thing that I didn't realize at the time, the thing that sucked the most when I first started was having these fluke successes where I was actually having a pretty awesome launch, but I didn't really know why. I didn't really know exactly where that was coming from. And I wasn't super confident the next time I launched, I would get numbers that looked like it. And so now we're at a point where our course is consistently converting 30% of a live audience on a webinar.
Wow, that's amazing.
And
I just want to highlight, for people who are listening, like you don't have a barometer to put that against. Understand that if you did a webinar to get people to retain you for your business, you probably couldn't sell that on the webinar. You probably would have to drive them to a phone call and then try to sell them on the call, which is going to require not just your time on the front end for the webinar, but you also need to now have this consult with people. Even if you're paying for the consult, you got to tie up your time with all these people to find those people who are going to become your clients. What Joey's saying is that he's getting 30% of the attendees to actually buy from him right there on the webinar. And I don't know, I haven't attended your webinar, but are you placing the course side by side with actually retaining the service in the firm?
So what I do, I don't really talk about my course at all until the end. And I let people know that one of the bonuses of joining the program is you can always credit whatever you paid for to our one-to-one package if you decide you'd rather just have us do it for you. And so
yeah, I love that. I'm actually going to, right here on the podcast, encourage you, if you haven't tested it, to try to put them side by side. Because what that does is that it price anchors the course, and your goal is to sell the course. So you're going to push people to the course, because when they see the either or, they're no longer making a decision, do I want to buy this course or not? They're now making a decision, do I want the course or do I want the service? And so you're taking them one step closer to becoming a client. So I'd be curious if you tested that to see what kind of results you got.
Yeah, that's interesting. We've been stepping back though. I know that this might be some people's first time talking about courses and all this stuff. I'm talking about the webinar and things like that because a lot of people, when they think about building some type of an online product, all of their concerns, thoughts, questions go into how can I make this course happen? What needs to be inside of it? What do I price it? What does it need to look like? How good do the videos need to be? How can I as a lawyer make this fit my high standards so that I think people will buy it? Then they get that done and they realize that they have to figure out how to sell it. And the sales machine that you have to create for a course is really where the work happens. And the tough thing about it, but the thing that I love about it is that every time you launch or you do another webinar, you get to fine tune, you get to tweak, you get to take suggestions from other experts like Moshe and be like, oh yeah, my gosh, I'll try that next time and see what happens. And you really do get this sense of, passive income is great and that comes later, but this idea that you are building something that is totally in your control, that you're learning at and getting better at over time, and you're not feeling like you have to spend tens of thousands of dollars on experts to somehow get the word out about what you're doing in ways that you don't understand. And then your entire business depends on somebody else doing their job, and you don't really own the success that you're building.
Yeah, and I think that, your marketing, you have to have your marketing dialed in anyway. Having an information product on the front end, it gives you an opportunity to look at your marketing in a different light, through a different lens that you would look in for, okay, I'm trying to find clients. And when you do that, it opens up the ability, who you're marketing to and how you're marketing to them a little bit more. And I would almost say, although it's a totally different sales mechanism and it's a totally different way of selling, in a way it's way easier, right? You're having a sales conversation with many people at the same time. You're not necessarily needing to meet with each one, have a consult, try to convince them, go through their garbage. You can just do this on a mass scale. Everybody's got the same reasons why they're hesitant about moving forward. And you can address those reasons, with everybody at once. And then that creates this filter where people who want to work with you they sign up by just giving you money. And, then you can transition people from that information product to become clients. And that's if it's on the front end, and that's where I'm focusing today, because that's how Joey has his position. Do you have anything for people, after they use you to protect their brand? Do you have a post client information product?
No, and it's not something that's on our radar. Although I do, one of the things that I want to go back to something that you said, which is like that this can be easy, and it really can be. One of the things that makes it really hard is when you see all of the possibilities and the different experts that you can invest in, and all of a sudden you're throwing money at all of these different resources to help you with different parts of making this happen, and they start pulling you in different directions. And so I love that Moshe is not only talking about this, but talking about it in a way where it, there can be an opportunity for, lawyers to go to one source and get this specific to them, where they don't have to kind of weigh all of these other recommendations that they're crowdsourcing online. That all being said, one of the things that I've learned is, as big of a visionary as I am, I'm still working on this machine. And I have a certain milestone that I want to hit before I can play with a new idea. That being said, the new idea that I'm excited about playing with is almost like a combination between a mastermind and a group coaching program for business owners who are not at the 7-figure mark yet. Because I found practically that most of the business owners in that place, there are certain legal ducks in a row that they should have in place. But once you get some of the foundations in place, you don't really need a lawyer on retainer for a lot of the stuff, especially for my niche. The bigger thing is that they're in their head a lot about problems. And there's this opportunity that I see to connect the dots between being a lawyer with a background in this stuff and a practical experience of what's happening, and a business coach, and the ability to kind of put the concept of the law to the side and just talk to these business owners about their problems and worst case scenarios that are running in their heads, and how to approach that with my legal background in a way that I think can help them more. So that's something that I'm working on building out. Hopefully, maybe next year sometime we can bring on some founding members. But again, to me, that's what's exciting, is kind of continuing to solve problems at deeper and deeper levels, and then seeing how else you can help people.
Yeah, I love that you're thinking about this, because it's right on par with what I laid out in episode, again, I'm not sure if it's 98 or 100, I forget, so go listen to both. But remember, I told you that there's 3 places where that information product would fit for an attorney, and this is a perfect example of the third option. And the third option is, okay, they're done with me, I've done their trademark. Unless they open another brand or they come up with another process or something that they want to trademark, there's no reason for them to come back and work with me. So how do I help them on their next step? What is the next thing they're going to struggle with when their brand is protected? And you're saying, okay, look, the next step is that they need help. They need support getting from where they are, because typically when somebody's protecting their brand, they're in that 6-figure space. They need to get over the hump. They need to get to that 7-figure revenue mark. Let me create a product for them. And information products come in all shapes and sizes. A course is just one. You can have a membership, you can have group coaching, you can have some sort of community subscription. Think of a Facebook group that you love being a part of. Well, imagine a paid version of that, where you have access to a community that everybody in there is paying to be there. They're all serious law firm owners, and in your case, they're all serious business owners in your niche, and they're just paying to be a part of that community. It's a perfect post-service information product opportunity. And I would love to come back a year from now, or, a year and a half from now, and revisit this and see if you implemented it, how that went, just watch as Joey does it. Because I think that in the level of difficulty of creating value there and selling it, I feel like the easiest one is the alternative, the DIY, or catch the people who are not gonna retain you anyway. The next one is the step before, and
Moshe, when you say easy, can you break down what you mean by easy?
So I think that it's difficult so when you create an information product, you have a job, which is to demonstrate the value of what you're providing. So I'm not talking about the creation of the product, because an information product is exactly that. You already have the information. It's a matter of just putting it out there, right? So the execution is the easy part. Like, I run group coaching programs. The hardest part is selling it. When I have people in the program, I can get on a coaching call anytime I want. They're picking my brain. It's not like I'm going to study for it. It's not like I'm going to prepare for it, so that's the easy part of the product. So the hardest part of the sale is figuring out how to demonstrate the value of what you're offering so that people are willing to part with their hard-earned money and pay you for it. Mm. So I think the easiest demonstration of value is when you're offering something that is cheaper than what you provide in another form. That's why the DIY option is the easiest thing for you to position, because you can position it next to the thing that's more expensive. And you can say you have two options and this one's cheaper.
So it's really interesting because it really depends on your situation. What we found is, you have to meet people where they're at. And when I was just trying to sell a trademark course, not many people were biting. And when I was kind of saying, here's an alternative to working with me directly, not many people were biting. It wasn't until I kind of went down what I call like this ladder of beliefs and said, okay, what is it that they're actually saying that they want help with? And, now a lot of my marketing, it doesn't just say I have an online course, here it is. It's if you are building a brand and you don't have a trademark, it's not legitimate. Let me show you some mistakes that people tend to make. And I don't even use legal anything. And then people kind of go back up those ladder of beliefs and see that that's there. I'm saying that because I think that a lot of this depends on how easy it may be for you to get leads interested in this thing. And some of you guys will be like, oh my gosh, if I do this, I've got this big following. If I have this more DIY, lower dollar thing, I think I can convince more people to sell. But there might be some of you guys who think, okay, no, I actually have this idea of a higher end something, and I only need 5 or 10 people to join for this to meet whatever revenue goal I'm running for. And I might not have a big list, but I think that I can get 5 people.
Yeah, and you threw out some terms like following and list, which people might be wondering, like, what in the world are you talking about? So following is when you have people who are following you, whether it's on social media, whether it's in some sort of information you're putting out there, a podcast, a YouTube channel, a blog, so attorneys have been warming up to this idea of needing a following and creating a following. Over time, I'm seeing a lot more attorneys getting involved in video, getting involved in podcasting. And by the way, folks, I am totally planning on doing one-day summits on all of these. So over time, my dreams are to bring all of this to you, one by one and bite-sized pieces so that you can figure it all out and execute on it. And the reason why I'm focusing on information products now is because I feel like this is something that if you figure it out, can be the engine for your entire practice. Like if you figure out the information products piece and you figure out how to put people in there, then you don't need to market your firm anymore, because people are going to naturally come from that information product into your firm, unless you're doing the post service piece, but then that's a different animal. And I think that that's what you're trying to say is like, hey, I could put 5 people in this. Usually that post service model is where people are going to find the value to invest in you in a big way, where they might be willing to spend 25 grand, to be with you in some shape or form. And then 5 of them, that's a very respectable revenue stream for your time. And you're not really doing a whole lot, with them. And that, I don't know what that looks like, but it doesn't really matter. It's just figuring out everyone wants leverage, and as a firm owner, the only way to get leverage is to hire staff, right? You can't duplicate your time unless you just bring on more people, and staff are really expensive. They're hard to manage. There's all kinds of, issues that come with that. And I'm not saying not to grow your firm and not to bring on staff, but what I am saying is that there is another form of leverage. And that is to take your information, take the stuff that you already know, take the knowledge you have, bottle it up into something that somebody can consume and learn from and get value from. And you do that once and you get paid for it over and over and over again. And that's the other way to create leverage. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
go
I
ahead,
love
Joey.
that you bring up leverage, because something else that I'm kind of learning in real time here is that once you know, and this applies to a law firm potentially as well, but you can kind of connect the dots more when you have something like a product. When you have that sales machine going on the course, and you realize, you know, the more I play offense here, and the more that I can get people to know about it, you know, the more the conversions happen. And so all of a sudden, like Moshe, you're like, what other podcast interviews can I be on? What other summits can I be a part of? Where can I be speaking? And now we are starting to do more and more paid speaking gigs where, you know, talk about leverage. We're getting paid to speak. We're able to talk about this webinar that we know converts on the back end. We're meeting great referral partners because we've niched down, and we're at these events where not only our niche is, but other leaders within our niche are. And so there are a lot of leverage points once you build this out and you see kind of ways to not just make money at the law firm or with the course, but on like every step of that amplification of your thought leadership brand.
Yeah, one of my favorite authors in the business book space is Mike Michalowicz. And you might have heard of him. He's the author of Profit First, which is the big one that everybody knows about. But he also wrote Clockwork, Pumpkin Plan, some really good books. One of his books is Surge. And the whole concept of Surge is recognizing that there is a wave coming and learning how to ride that wave. And in that book, he talks about how do you become the go-to person in a niche to, you know, that people see you as the leader. And he talks about how you go to the trade shows, you go to you get highlighted on the podcast, the YouTube channels. And what happens is that elevates your authority in that space, and people start to look up to you as an untouchable, you know, like Mike Michalowicz is like an author that nobody, you know, people put him on a pedestal. He's a regular guy, you know. He's 30 minutes from me. I see him in person every once in a while, and he's just just like you and me. He walks into the office, he's got a job to do, you know, he's churning out books like crazy. We just had him on the podcast, and I don't have the episode number in front of me, but we'll link it up in the show notes, because he has this book called Fix This Next, and I interviewed him on that, which is, you know, how do you choose what the next thing is to work on in your law firm. But where I was going with this was just talking about Surge and this idea that getting highlighted in this, you know, in your particular space, which is another reason why a niche is so critical to your growth. It elevates you. And like Joey's saying, you know, he's getting paid speaking engagements. Why do you get paid speaking engagements? Why would somebody pay you to speak? There's one reason, and one reason only: because it's going to attract people to that event, which means that people know who you are. They see your name there, and they say, I got to go because I got to see Joey. You know, and that doesn't happen overnight. That happens by being highlighted over and over again, by people hearing your message, by people resonating with it and getting an affinity to you and saying, hey, I want to go and I want to see him. I want to see him speak. I want to meet, hopefully shake his hand, you know, maybe I get a backstage pass, you know, and get to touch him. But that's what happens when you elevate your brand and become an authority. So we're like changing the script here from, hey, you should do information products, to when you think about yourself as a knowledge source and an influential source and a source of impact, suddenly you have this possibility of becoming a thought leader, an influencer, somebody who people look up to and want to go and see you speak. And I love that you brought that up and transitioned to that, because, and that might not be what people are thinking. Like, maybe that's not what you want. But if you think about, like, what am I here on this earth to do? You know, if you have an ability to influence change, more than chances are more than likely that that's really what you're here for.
Yeah.
So why not harness that, execute on it, and go do it?
Totally.
All right, Joey. Well, we're running out of time. We're going to wrap this up.
Okay.
I am just going to ask you this. So somebody is listening to this episode and they're like, okay, you've got me convinced. A course is in my future. You know, I'm going to do this. What's one piece of advice that you can share that somebody can really take into heart, whether it's as a first step or something to keep in mind throughout the process of attacking this, this journey and really harnessing the power of their knowledge in the marketplace?
Well, what our mutual buddy James likes to say is begin with the end in mind. And with something like a digital product, an online course, a thought leadership program, the possibilities are so endless that you really do have this untapped freedom to make this look however you want, niche down however you want. And the more that you start to Google certain questions, the more that it can feel like there's one right way to do all of this. And it's really hard to find that one right way. Throw right and wrong away and just give yourself the freedom and permission to really look at, if I had this thing be an incredible success, what do I want that to look like? And then build backwards from there.
Wow. Powerful. I love that. One of my favorite books to talk about here on the podcast is Living Forward by Michael Hyatt. Living Forward by Michael Hyatt is a book. This is actually, I'm sorry, I didn't give Daniel Harkavy credit. They co-wrote the book. It's Michael Hyatt and Daniel Harkavy that co-wrote this book called Living Forward. It's a short read, but it's full of exercises for you to do. And it's all about creating a life plan. And one of the exercises they have you do in there, and I talk about it all the time, is writing your own eulogy. And if you start to think about the value of what doing that brings, it's a compilation of, okay, all the different facets of my life. What do I want to be known for? What do I want people to say after I'm gone? Like what did I do? What was my contribution on earth? And if you go through Living Forward and you get clear on that, that will solidify what Joey's telling you to do, which is, begin with the end in mind. Where do I want to be? Like, what is my goal? Why am I running my firm? Why, is it just for the money, or is there something more, something bigger to it? And if there's something bigger to it, how am I going to get there? Is the firm the way to do it? Or is it more than that? Do I need to elevate myself above and beyond the firm and do something beyond that in order to make that happen? And I think that's a huge and great takeaway. I'm going to share my own takeaway since you brought up James Wedmore and brought something up from him. I'm going to share with you something that I'm continuing to learn from him. And no matter how many times I hear it, no matter how many times I act on it, I always falter, and I always need to go back and learn it again or get reminded of it. And that is that action creates clarity. And what you're going to find is if you go on this journey, you're going to get in your own way over and over and over again. And you're going to constantly question whether something you're doing is going to work. And what happens is the worst thing that we can do is get in our own heads and convince ourselves not to do something because of all the reasons that it might not work. Well, the only way that you can be sure it's not going to work is if you don't do it.
Right.
And if you take action and just execute, just keep trying, you're going to find what works and what doesn't work. And you're going to be told by the marketplace what works and what doesn't work. And as lawyers, that is the hardest thing that you're going to come across in this thing, which is you're going to want to put something out there that's perfect. You're not going to want your name attached to something that's imperfect. That's what I hear attorneys say that all the time, and the only way to start this is with what he calls the monetize before you make it, right? You're not going to go and create that course first. Joey said that that's what people do is, you create this perfect course and then you're like, oh gosh, I have to figure out how to sell this. The right way to do this is to figure out how to sell it first. And then you deliver it live, deliver an imperfect product so that the people going through it can give you feedback and tell you why it's imperfect so that you can make it better the next time. But every step of the way, there's going to be imperfection. And it is so against the grain of what you're taught and trained as an attorney that is one of the biggest hurdles that you're going to come across, is just being able to execute because you want everything to be perfect, because you want all the boxes to be checked, and you want it to be safe, and you want it to be a sure bet and a sure win. And you're not going to get that. So if we convince you over the next month to try this, which hopefully we will, because there is a huge potential, and it's not just about the money. Yes, I have a podcast episode titled "You're Leaving Money on the Table" and lots of it. But the reality is that Joey has done a really good job of highlighting that you can be an influential icon in your community, in the world, and change people's lives, no matter what you're doing with your information products side of this business, with sharing your knowledge, with becoming an authority. And to rob the world of that because you want to be perfect would be such a shame. So going into this, begin with the end in mind. Action creates clarity. Let's do this. Joey, thank you so much for being here with me. How can people follow up with you if they want to check you out? They want to go through your webinar and,
man. Well, I would love to continue the conversation one-to-one with anybody who, is curious or interested in this. You can find me either on Facebook at Joey Vitale or on Instagram at Joey C. Vitale. And just, I would love to chat one-to-one with you guys. And Moshe, thanks for the mic drop moment at the end. That was great.
Yeah, and no problem. And you also just started a live show, right? So I know it's geared towards your audience, but I'm sure folks might want to check that out, your Facebook live show. Why don't we plug that here?
So I've got a new show that we just kicked off called Owning It, A Lawyer's Secrets to a Problem-Free Business, a combination of some solo episodes from me and some great friends and mentors who are, really kind of rethinking what it means to have legal problems in more powerful ways. So a combination of law, business, and some little bit of woo in there.
Awesome. Love it. And where can they get access to the show?
You can just go to my Facebook page, Joey C. Vitale, and see past episodes, get notified for new ones.
Awesome. Joey, thank you so much for being here. And folks, if you haven't done it yet, get on the wait list for our one-day summit coming up June 15th, where we're going to take you through this journey of creating an information product. You can get that at profitwithlaw.com/waitlist. Also, I did not plug this at the beginning of the show, but if you stuck it out to the end, you're going to hear about it now. I am working with attorney Ajako Brown, who is interestingly also a trademark attorney, not on the same with the same audience as yours.
Hey,
but
everybody needs trademark help. I need help.
What's that?
I said everybody needs trademark help. I can't do this alone.
Yes, exactly. But I'm working with her on creating her own information product, and we are doing that together live. So if you want to see what this process looks like and you want to watch the step-by-steps that we're taking, make sure that you go and like our Facebook page so you get notified when we go live. We're doing it live on Facebook. Generally, Mondays and Wednesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern is the schedule we settled on, but it's up in the air. We both are busy people. You never know when things are going to change. But if you want to watch us, go check it out there. And we'll probably compile the entire series into a bonus that you can get when we're going to offer James Wedmore's Business by Design program, which is basically the instruction manual for implementing a information products business line into your law firm, we're going to offer that for sale after our one-day summit. And we're going to offer a sweet bonus package. We get an affiliate commission if you buy from us. And part of that bonus package is probably going to have that work that I do with Ajako in there as, all compiled into one easy place for you to consume. So I'm really excited about all the different things that we're doing over the course of this month to try to highlight the opportunity for you and bring it forward. But Joey, what a great interview. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thanks for having me, man. This was great.
All right, folks, have a great day.
That's it for this week's episode of Profit with Law. If you have enjoyed the show, please consider sharing it with at least one person. Imagine how many lives we can change if we each shared this episode. Another way to share the episode is on social media. We appreciate your support and look forward to you joining us again next week.